right. Thank you guys for joining us. Looks like we got a few people that are on now, and I'm sure we'll get a few more that join here in a minute. But thank you for coming to our third Fire Hour. Well, third since we restarted it, but seventh in total because we did a few a long time ago. But anyways, yeah. So thank you guys for joining us today. We are going to be doing a lot of talk shop, or we're going to be talking shop today, I should say. Sorry. And so we got a few questions that are kind of prepared that we've gotten previously from other clients and stuff, and from people that emailed in, and a few that we came up with and stuff too. And so obviously if you have any, we would love to answer those live. And then we are going to, so this is, sorry, let me introduce us. I'm James.
I'm Gene.
And this is Gene. We are two of the three owners of FireSprint. And so, yeah, thanks for being here.
So why should you listen to us? Well, FireSprint is about an $8 million sign shop. And so we have 37 of us in total, including the three owners, based out of Omaha, Nebraska. If you have no idea who we are, that's why we're up here talking. We're talking about our journey and what it has taken us to get this far and what we're doing to get to the next level. So just all those questions and everything else. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah. This isn't really a plug for FireSprint per se. It's more just to talk about the business, talk about what we've gone through, and
however we can help the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna jump into a shop tour here. So check this out.
Hi, I'm Gene. This is our FireSprint 1,000 subscriber special. So to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised we got to 1,000 subscribers. We've never really done a push to get more subscribers on our YouTube channel, other than just putting content out there. But we're going to give you a shop tour today. We have so much that's changed since our last shop tour, and then we're going to change it all again over the next couple of months, and we'll talk a little bit about the things that we're going to do when we're out there. But just to kind of show you what's going on, I'm hoping what this does is this inspires some questions for you guys, and you see some stuff, you're like, hey, what is that? Or how are you dealing with this issue? Or even, I'd love it if you're like, hey, we figured this out and we see that you're doing it wrong. I'd love to hear that, because we're always looking to improve our processes. But we are totally locked down here. You can't get in without badge access. And, there's a number of reasons why we do that, but primarily it's because we are running your artwork. Nothing that we're running in here belongs to us. So we are very careful with it. We don't even, on the building, it doesn't even say that we're FireSprint. It's just our flame. So if you know who we are, you know who we are. But if you don't, flame doesn't really mean anything. So, and we like it that way. These are our front offices. My office is back there. Mark and James, the other two owners' offices are up here. Andrew, who's on the other side of the camera, is up here. We have accounting, marketing, those kinds of things are in the front offices here. Out to our beloved shop floor. This is where the action happens. This is the FireSprint production floor. We have 14-foot ceilings here, something like that. It's 13,500 square feet of continuous space, which is really awesome. We have great LED lighting, which we installed when we moved in here in 2022. Just to give us a real even lighting over everything. Our last shop, we did not have that, so we're very thankful for the awesome lighting. The whole building is climate controlled, and then we are working on installing a new humidification system. Right now, we use the swamp cooler, which has worked really well for us up to this point. It's pretty inexpensive, but we're ready to take it up to the next level to really dial in the humidity that we have to help us with certain issues. And then just make it less maintenance. That thing takes a tremendous amount of clean out and regular maintenance. Here we're on the rigid printing side of the shop. So we have all of our Durst ink here on this rack, and then we've got our rigid substrates that we're printing on. Corrugated plastic is the biggest thing we do. We do truckloads and truckloads of that. Polystyrene, PVC, foam core, those type rigid products are all printed on our Durst P10 250, which we did install in early 2021. In about a month or two, we're going to be installing our new Durst D4, which I'm pointing at the floor because we've laid out how big it's going to be on the floor. Just give us a good idea of what it is. It is a beast of a machine. The P10 is an awesome machine. Prints 30 to 40 boards an hour in really high quality. The D4, the new Durst, is going to print between 80 and 200 boards an hour in really high quality. It's LED ink. The ink cost is lower. It's really fast. We're so excited for it. Mid-December, we're going to get that installed. And it's going to go right here. We actually have to cut the concrete out and pour new concrete to support its weight. It weighs 20,000 pounds plus, and we're afraid that the floor here might shift on it a little bit, and that just lowers print quality. So having a really stable foundation under these printers really helps improve print quality. If you're not real familiar with digital printing, if you have a little inkjet like an Epson or HP inkjet sitting on your desktop at home and you got the little print head going back and forth, these printers are essentially doing the same thing. There's just a print head moving back and forth and you see it kind of light up. And it's using UV ink. So all the ink that we're applying here is UV cured, which means that as soon as it comes out of the printer, it's dry or fully cured. And so UV ink is really durable. It helps us with cost savings. And then of course it's really, really fast. And so that's why it is so popular in the industry. And that's why we use it here at FireSprint. All the sheets, all the blank sheets that we use are all oversized. So let's say you order an 18.75 by 19.23. We're actually going to print and cut that at that size. That's how we operate. So we don't scale it down. Because of that, because there's so much being ordered at 24 inches, we don't run a 4x8 sheet. We actually run oversized. So all of our sheet goods are around 50 by 100 inches, so that it allows us to run 24 by 18s or 24 by 24s at full size with full bleed all the way around. So before we get out onto the rest of the shop floor, we should go talk to client services and pre-flight. Those are the guys that you're going to be talking to all the time. So let's go meet them. So here we are in the customer service and pre-flight room. And so we have MBA, which is Michael, right behind us. And then Shelby is back there in the corner. And they handle most of the pre-flight and nesting and stuff for all of our jobs. And then we have Michael, which they're not at their desk right now, but Michael and Derek, which are scheduling and automation and stuff, kind of all the back end, really technical stuff that they're handling. And they do a great job at that. And then around the corner, we have our customer service team, which Lisa leads this team. So here she is. And then Sue, Kim, and Ellen. And they might be on the phone right now, so I won't disrupt them too much. Oh, there they are. So this is our customer service team. So if you call in, you're going to talk to one of the four of them typically. And then if you press 2 for pre-flight, you're going to talk to either MBA or Shelby back over here. So thanks for checking out this room. This is roll. So we in roll printing, which is really for us, the high volume is stickers. We're doing tons and tons, maybe 5 million stickers in 2024 we'll do. And we're doing those in small runs. You can order just one sticker from us. These aren't large runs of labels or something like that. Our typical order size is maybe 50 pieces or 100 pieces, but we'll do as few as one. And on the high end, we will see orders of maybe 10,000 come through, but they're actually kind of rare. But we run the newest Colorado M, Canon Colorado 1650M, I think they call it. But they do have white ink, and we have the magnet kits in them, so we're running our magnet, high definition magnet in them, and they really are solid machines. I think for the money, you can't do much better in terms of quality. The run cost, the cost of ink, we have a local technician, so that's a huge advantage for us with the Colorado M's. And then just the durability and then the fine text quality and things like that we can get off of these. We don't see that with other roll printers that take the same footprint. So that's for us, that's a big thing. Even though these are maybe more expensive than an HP or Epson roll printer, the footprint is similar. And for us, that's really our limiting factor. We run these things all day and all night. So being $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more isn't a huge concern of ours. We really get a lot of output for taking up, 15 square feet. Here we're running some 70-30 perf. Looks like the job just finished up. And then we've got a banner on the middle machine, 13-ounce banner. And then we've got some probably removable or permanent dry tack. It's a really good, durable vinyl that we run. Laminators here, we like these GFP laminators. They really are good for the money. And we run lots and lots. I mean, they're running dozens of rolls per day with no issue, very little maintenance. So if you are wondering if the GFP laminators are solid, we think they are. And then GraphTech cutters. We really like our GraphTech cutters. They allow us to actually do a through cut. There's a cut channel. Come here a little closer. There's a channel here that the blade is dropping into, and it's probably pretty hard to see. Maybe we can get a close-up of that, but the blade is dropping into, and so we are...
There were a couple of things that we were talking about, or that I missed, and we'll let the video play here in just a second, but that channel, as opposed to something like a friction, or not a friction, but like a backer, like a plastic backer, a wear strip that would need to wear out and be replaced all the time. There's nothing consumable about that channel, so it's just constant. That's great. We really love that for as many stickers as we're doing here. And these are, I don't think I said it in the video or I say it anywhere, these are FC 9000s. So these are GraphTech's kind of their newest model, and we absolutely love them. We have 4 or 5, you see 4 in the video. I think we have a 5th one. And, as we do more and more sticker next year, we'll definitely be adding them. But for the floor space, for what they are, they're just phenomenal machines. Suma makes a good machine too, but I'd say the sticker or the price difference between the two, if you're running a lot of production, I wouldn't sway away from this. We've tested other machines. These are really the way to go, in our opinion. So
when we kiss cut, is there a sacrificial strip in
there is, but since we're not cutting all the way down or all the way through the backer, that
Yeah.
takes forever to wear out. So,
Yep.
but yeah, and we find the kiss cuts are amazing on them. They're just awesome machines for what they are for the floor space. It's a 110 volt plug,
Yeah.
which might not seem like a lot, but our electrician, we'll get into talking about electrical.
We don't convert the graph text between kiss cutting and through cutting. We have 2 that are set up for kiss cutting and 2 that are set up for through cutting.
Yep.
And we don't go back and forth.
Right. That saves us a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have enough volume to
For sure.
justify multiples.
For sure.
So
Yeah. Okay.
In this case, we're just kiss cutting, but we're able to through cut on here, and just the adhesive residue on the sticker itself holds it into the sheet. And so we'll peel up that sheet, we'll cut through it, do a through cut over here on the graph text, and then we'll take that sheet like this, bring it over to our table, and pop those stickers out. So obviously this has already been popped out, but Zach is able to do that. I'm in his way, so I'm gonna get out of his way. Yeah. Yeah, I'm done. And so we'll take those stickers, pop them out, stack them up. Here's something there's print on the other side. I just don't want to show it to you. Contour cut or rectangles or circles, doesn't really make that much of a difference to us. And then we'll put them in our heat sealing machine like this. And of course, they do a much better job than I do, because I don't do this every day. And I'm kind of a klutz, and I might cut off some of this here. And then we're gonna take the shrink wrapped stack of stickers, and run them through our heat seal tunnel. Now I'm gonna cut this out of here because I don't know if this job is done or anything else, and I don't wanna confuse anybody and mess up somebody's order. But we'll run that through our heat seal tunnel, and we're left with these really great little stacks of stickers that are really great presentation to your customer, and we'll pack those up and ship them. Any questions about this area or how we're doing anything, leave those in the comments below or reach out to us. Our whole process uses these Zebra style laser print or label printers and our home built system, which we call Lumen. And so we are looking at upgrading that next year. But for now, that's what we do. Every time we need to track a job through our shop, we're using these 4-inch by 6-inch label that we have there. We're printing these labels off, and we're using them with the barcode system to track all these jobs through our system. And then we have barcodes on help us track everything through the system. But once we start cutting it out, things like that, we need those labels to really help track and understand what we've got there. So you can see there's a little close-up detail of the label. And this system's all home built. So I wish I could tell you where to buy it if you liked it, but you can't. Back over here, these are
too much here, but one of the things that we do, like if you would have zoomed in on that label, it doesn't say who our customer is. It doesn't say who we are. There's nothing on any of our materials that float through our shop that say FireSprint. I mean, we don't get crazy with the branding or anything like that, because if that would accidentally end up in a box or something like that, we want it to be as generic as possible. Even like we have the person who printed it at the bottom, but it's a 3-digit code for who they are. So it's just one of those little steps that we take, being trade only, that maybe some of you guys wouldn't need to do if you were to utilize a system like this, but that's always very important to us, very top of mind.
Yeah.
So.
No pricing, no mention of who it is, who it's going.
Yeah, no, we don't have anything that prints pricing. So.
The heat shrink tunnel that we use for the stickers, that's a Uline purchase, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the armbar.
Yeah, most of our packaging stuff is just Uline stuff. I mean, they're very good at what they do. We admire them.
I don't think they were that expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a few $1,000s in that setup there.
Okay.
So, I mean, compared to how many stickers we run through it, no.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Here, these are our 2 Zunes. We have another one coming. We actually have an S3, so it's more dedicated towards roll is what we'll be doing. And then we're going to add a stacker to the end of the big Zune. So that's it's a vector feeder. And what it does is it picks up boards off of a pallet and loads them onto the cutter. And so it helps the operator not have to be running back and forth around the cutter, because you'll see they'll take some stuff off the cutter, they'll run around, they'll load it, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of back and forth. And so we're adding that hopefully the next couple of months to improve the cutting process of the Zen cutters. If you haven't seen these cutters work, it's fascinating. They're a CNC cutter So it's a carbide blade on an axis moving around, and it's tangential, which means the blade is turning so that we're not like just drag knifing it where we're hoping for friction to like set the direction of the blade. We're actually intentionally choosing the direction of the blade as these cut out. We'll come through here a little bit, and we can just watch this cut for a second. And so we're cutting any shape, any quantity. All of our materials are able to run through the Zune cutters. It's crazy, crazy accurate. It uses optical registration. So it's actually using little dots on here that look like that. We're using a barcode to scan in the information, and we're using these little dots to register. And so if it's not perfectly square on the belt or anything like that, it's no, even if it stretches a little bit because it heated up while it was being printed, the Zune accounts for that, and it uses those dots to give us a really perfect cut. If you do ever see an issue with a cut, it's most likely front to back registration, which happened during the printing process, not at the cutting process. The cutting is ridiculously accurate. It's amazing. We love the cutters. So from there, we'll stack jobs up on carts. We can talk about our carts a little bit. A lot of people want to know about those. This is a box cart that we're experimenting with from Uline. And this is actually something that we're trying to compartmentalize and use it. We get so many orders that, you know, it's one of these and 3 of these and maybe some yard signs and some stands and maybe some stickers. And we're trying to get those all in the same box. So we're working on different organization systems to help us with that. So these are like box storage carts from Uline. We have these are a home built cart that we had made years ago when we were screen printing. And these are actually all single-sided, they're single-sided signs. This is perfect, so you can't see the graphic on this side. These are all 24 by 18s, and this is our 600 sign cart that we built. And we actually have like 10 or 12 of these carts for stacking up hundreds and hundreds of 24 by 18s. So these are great because we do like 1 million 24 by 18s a year. So these carts help us keep all that organized. Or here's that plastic Uline cart. And so these, I'm gonna say you can go out there and you can go buy some casters or find some casters off of something and 2x4s, put one of these together. But at the end of the day, it's not as sturdy, it's not as nice looking. I do think that a clean shop, the quality tools, does help encourage your team to produce higher quality products. And so we used to have kind of jerry-rigged carts. Actually, they look like this, where we would take kind of a cart that we got for much less expensive, and we'd put a bigger top on it, and they just don't hold up as nice. After we switched to these, everybody loves them. They're easier to work with, and it just instills a little higher quality through the whole process. So we buy pretty much all our carts from Uline. They are a little more pricey, but I really think they're worth it. Of course, we have our U-boat carts that we use for shipping. So we are migrating towards these green ones here, which are a little bit wider and then have this shelf on the top. We really like these. I think they are called U-boat style carts, but they're great for packages and boxes and taking stuff from our shipping area to the dock where the UPS driver picks up, UPS or FedEx. And then since we do use all 3 carriers, we have these tags that we use on our carts to tell people that this is a UPS cart or this is a FedEx cart. Rather than having like a FedEx cart or a UPS labeled cart, sometimes we'll have more UPS or more FedEx in a day, and that varies depending on rates and where we're shipping and everything else. This allows us to just switch what the cart is for, kind of at a moment's notice, so really cool. Shipping, let's go to shipping. This is one of our shipping stations here. You've seen Omar in other videos. One of the cool things that we came up with the shipping station is we actually integrated the scale into the shipping station. And so rather than like hiring somebody figuring all that out, what we did is we bought these on Amazon. It's a freight scale. It's like a 40-inch by 40-inch freight scale, like a pallet scale down here. And we put a piece of polyethylene over the top of it. And that allows us to just work right on the scale. So then all Omar has to do, or any of our shippers, we have 3 of these stations set up, is just make sure that you've got your tape gun removed off. And after you've got something packed up, you just look at the weight there, and we can integrate that into our software system. And it pulls the weight without like taking the package and moving it to a separate scale. And so we're just eliminating a little bit of motion transportation there. So that's been a big help. So that's shipping. Again, questions, leave them down below. Love to hear from you. Comments. Hey, you're doing this wrong. I don't really take offense to that. If you really think we can do something better, we'd love to do it better. Over here is banner finishing. We've got our heat welder. It's our Millard Weldmaster T300, I think, heat welder. We've had it for a year. This one for a year. It's been solid. Great machine. And then we use Hiker grommet presses. We have 2 of them, and they have been phenomenal. We really, in 2025, we're going to ramp up banner production. We've really kind of been dragging on banner production. I'm going to admit that it hasn't been selling banner and producing a lot of banner hasn't really been something we've gone after for the first 17 years of FireSprint. And so we're ready to do that now. And we're really gonna make some big investments in being able to do all that stuff at a really competitive price point, do it all really quickly. And so, you know, keep on the lookout for that, particularly with banner here at FireSprint. But again, Hiker grommet machine, the Millard Weldmaster, they're not running anything right now. They've shipped everything out for the day. It's a little bit late in the day, but it's been phenomenal equipment, worked really well for us. I come out to the shop maybe once or twice a day. I try to come out, probably averages once a day. I come out and I look for full trash cans that I can handle. And everybody thinks that I do it just because I'm helping them take out the trash. That's not why I do it. I do it because about 6 months ago, we installed a better way to handle our trash. And that's this in here. So this is our trash compactor. This is come on in here. So the compactor has made a huge difference for us. It's made it really easy for us. We used to have to take our trash.
That wasn't very satisfying because Andrew cut it quick for sake of keeping the video.
And those look like perfectly
we'll just I don't want to talk about that. I'm just kidding. We'll post another video of it just going through its entire cycle for the minute and a half it takes or something like that. Yeah, we do get just lots and lots of stuff that we keep a bunch of it, but you know, for packaging, we try and recycle as much as we can, but we do hit a point where we just have more than we can use.
Outside to dumpster, we have big hoppers that we use, lift up the big hoppers, dump them, and that's been a real challenge. And so having the compactors made it easy. It's all inside, especially here in Nebraska, we get crazy winters. And so that allows us to just keep doing it, and it's kind of fun. So that's it for now. That's our shop tour. I know we're running long. Thanks for sticking with me this whole time. If there is anything else, please let us know. But thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for just being a part of our journey here at FireSprint, choosing to work with us. We really do appreciate you, and we are truly trade only. We do everything we can to try and make sure that we stay in the shadows while you stay out there and take the credit, and we just want to run the equipment. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Gene with FireSprint.
So we are going to post that video live to Facebook, so you can watch just that video on its own if you don't want to sit here and listen to our commentary. And it's a little quicker that way. But I suppose I can take these off, can I?
Yep.
Yeah, so pretty cool. You know, I do have a couple of things. Walking through or watching that shop tour, I'm seeing all these things that, you know, so many people have helped us with along the way. You know, we've had friends and family and, you know, little things that they'll do, little suggestions they'll make. For example, when we were early on, a real good friend of mine, one of my best friends growing up, helped us design, and he actually made the first set of those 600 sign carts. And so, you know, it absolutely takes a village to, you know, try and raise something like this. It's like a kid, and putting all that together and just, you know, people coming out of the woodwork to help us when we needed it, figure things out, solve problems, you know, just take care of things. I couldn't list all of the people who have been involved in our success so far, because there's just so many wonderful people who come together to help us with all that. So that's cool. And including Andrew for blurring out all of the artwork. I know you spent quite a bit of time. He's sitting over here. I know you guys can't see him, but he spent a ton of time blurring out artwork so that we could walk through a live shop and, you know, not have to take everything down.
That is always really challenging. Anytime we want to shoot a video or something out of the shop, we take our clients' artwork very seriously and making sure that it's not out there and exposed and stuff. And so we try to, you know, either blur it out or put something in front of it to stop. And so you guys did a great job with that video, you know, and that was just kind of, we reached 1,000 subscribers, and it's like, we should talk about this. And obviously we have a ton of changes that are going to be happening in our shop in the next couple weeks, couple months, you know, with the new printer coming and stuff. And so it's a good place to, like, I don't know, you almost kind of do this stuff to, like, document our progress and stuff. And it's kind of fun to go back and look. And I mean, we've got hundreds of videos on YouTube and stuff, and so it's nice to see kind of what we've come from and things, and it's fun to document the process, you know, in general.
I'm seeing I assume it's gyro signs or
Yeah.
He's got a comment about that, and I assume he's talking about our stickers. When he gets them, they break. So that was an issue that we were facing, and we did upgrade our heat shrink material. But I'm assuming that that's been several months now. So and we haven't had any negative feedback on the new material. So I'm glad you're saying something, and we'll definitely look into this. And if there's a next step up, we're going to go to that next step up. Or maybe we need to work on how it's sealing, or maybe double seal it or something like that. Because that's not something that we want you to deal with. So thank you very much for that.
No, the presentation of how those
feedback.
get, especially die cut stickers, there's so much, like, it's so common that they're sitting on a desk or sitting on a display case or something. So
we want you to feel confident enough to just ship it directly to your client, and you not need to double check anything. So we do appreciate that feedback. Please share that with us, and we'll share this feedback with the entire team and try and get to the bottom of it. So thank you.
We do every Tuesday and Thursday. We go over all of our client feedback that we receive, good and bad. And it's actually been kind of cool. We started doing that. Well, we've been doing it for
owners, a while. The executives, the managers.
There's about 10 people, 10, 11 people in the room. And we go over all that. And we talk about who's the champion of fixing this. What are we going to do?
Twice a week.
And so we try to make sure that feedback gets trickled through, pretty well. I know we're constantly improving, but
yeah. So thank you for that.
So jump into a few questions here. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what are the most important KPIs to track in print production? How can these metrics help owners make informed decisions on production improvements?
Okay, getting into this. So we're talking about KPIs. KPIs, I think, there's a couple. So the point of collecting data in our business is any business, but the way I see it, the point of collecting data is to make actionable decisions on it, right? So the first thing in collecting data, especially if it requires some manual collection, I think, and when I say data, you turn the data into KPI. So you're measuring how many boards per hour you're printing, or how fast you're printing banner, or how many banners you're shipping per day, or something like that. Those could all be KPIs that you want to talk about. The first thing is when you're trying to figure out, or when we're trying to figure out KPIs for our business, it's like, is this data necessary to collect? So if you're thinking, let's say you're tracking like how many pieces of stickers you're cutting on, your Suma cutter, and you never do anything with that data. Well, if it takes manual input to track it, like if you're going every day to write it down, if it's automatic, you can throw it in a folder. I get that. But if it's not automatic, you got to ask yourself, are you going to do anything actionable with this? If the answer is we're never going to do anything actionable with it, it's waste, right? You're wasting time, resources, somebody's talent in that process. And so, ask yourself what's actionable. And the second thing that I would say about KPI data, and frankly, none of this information is stuff that I've come up with. It's talking to other business owners, listening to podcasts. Love Alex Hormozy. I'll plug him again. The second thing that I think is really important with KPI data is you have to have a balancing pair of metrics. Right. So KPI is key performance indicator. Okay. And the point of a KPI is like you set a threshold. And so when it starts to get above that threshold or below that threshold, it turns red or green, appropriate to, whether it actually does or whether you just note it. It's a quick indicator when something isn't going well or something is going really well, in your business. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the point of it. If it's not doing that, if it's not indicating that, then, again, why? Why bother with it? Okay, so always ask yourself that question. Do we even need to track this? But then what you want is a pair of dueling KPIs, if you can, that balance each other out, okay? And what I mean by that is, let's take printing, for example, okay? With printing, I might say, like on our rigid printers, how many boards per hour are we printing on average, right, over a shift or a day or a week or whatever? How many boards per hour are we printing? And then how much waste, how many boards did we throw away in that day, okay? And those KPIs will balance each other. And so people, are ethical. They're not going to cheat, I don't think. We never find cheating in the system, but incentives matter, right? And so if we only had how many boards per day can you print, then, and that was the only KPI, or how many boards per hour can you print, and that was the only KPI, then our press operators, if we come to them and say, why aren't you printing more? Why aren't you printing more? Why aren't you printing more? They're going to have the inclination to say, well, maybe I can speed it up a little bit, which might lower quality. Maybe, if something has an ink drop on it, you can say, well, they're buying 100 signs. Only one of the signs was bad. I think that's good enough. And then we'll ship that, right? We'll get as many of these boards out as we can. Maybe they don't stop as often to wipe the print heads, to double check quality. So we add that second KPI in there, which is a waste board, which the waste boards are tracked by somebody else downstream, right? Or they're kind of verified by that, or the managers. And so you can't really increase speed beyond a certain point without increasing waste, right? Yeah. And you can't really, you can't do waste on its own, because you could make it so there's zero waste, but then your speed just drops. Right? You're wiping print heads before every board prints. Sure, well, you're not outputting anything. And so those KPIs will balance each other.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for everything, I think, throughout. That's what I'm looking for with everything throughout our organization. What's two KPIs that can kind of push against each other, that when they're both going up, they're both green, we know we're doing well, and that's ultimately going to lead to the success of our business.
Yeah. And it's important to track like customer service too. One of the things that we track is number of phone calls that we receive per day, plus.
I just noticed I'm not doing this.
Number of phone calls we receive per day, and then number of missed calls. And so, if we have people that are dropping off, at a certain point because it rings 3 times or 4 times, and they're getting bored, it's like, well, what do we do to, how do we don't want to have too much customer service staff, because obviously overhead's a real thing. Yeah, we got to keep our costs down, but at the same time, it's we want to be able to answer everybody that calls in, and then when we have what's really cool is, so we track. There's like 60 metrics that we track, which is way too much. But
yes, it is.
Part of the thing is we're living this right now, and what's actually valuable for us to be able to have that barometer, and what's needed and stuff versus what's not needed. And so we're trying to trim that.
One of our 2025 strategic plan goals is to really nail down the KPIs that we're going to track.
Yeah.
In the coming years. So
yeah,
for sure.
Yep. So James Duncan had I know you guys do very well on quality as well. Thanks, James. I saw an API question somewhere in here. What was it? Any plans to include an API order test? Varsity Graphics asked that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes. We want to get there.
We want to get there. It's a huge step. We are highly automated through our website as an entry point for data.
Yeah.
And that's working really well for us. But we don't have a dedicated, well, we do kind of, but we need to put more resources into an API or an order desk setup. It really is something we talk about several times a month or even multiple times a week. We just, it's a big step for us. And as we're doing a better job of simplifying our products, and that's really one of the keys is some of our products have such complexity behind like the rules and where you can put a grommet and things like that, that incorporating that into an API is a whole new challenge. It's not just I want to buy this widget, so like let that run through the API. It's everything has so many rules, and so as we get better at this, it'll make those kinds of things come more and more to life. But absolutely, it's on our mind every day.
So one of the questions we have is, how do you guys handle hiring temps?
How do we? Okay, so this is first of all, I want to say that names, words, labels matter. Okay, yeah. Titles matter to people, right? And so we don't call them temps when we do bring people in here at FireSprint. We call them associates, and it's my opinion that if we introduce somebody out on the shop floor, hey, this is Johnny, and he's a temp. Right. Well, then everybody's like, okay, I just need to get this guy to do the job and then get him out of here as fast as possible. Yeah. When we change the label, we think that helps, because we've had several people stay on full time after a temporary engagement with us, because it's like, you rock. We want to keep you here, right? Yeah. And so if we started off calling those people temps, I do believe that outcome could have changed. So I think that's first of all one of the most important things. Then the second thing that we do is, temps or associates are really great for procedures or processes that have a really clearly defined process and outcome, right? And so we know that, applying easel backs, let's say we've got 10,000 counter cards we need to apply easel backs to. Well, you know exactly what that should look like. And then we even build a jig. So there's like a positive stop. You put the counter card in, you know, one of the processes, make sure we've got it upright. And then we put the piece of styrene in a jig. And then when we apply that easel back, like we want that in the exact same spot on every counter card. And so we give them a jig to do it. We don't just say, hey, eye it, try and get it close to the middle. Yeah. It's like, no, line it up, push it against this, you know, jig and then stick it down.
Part of what helps with this process though, of like simplifying things so that you can hire an associate to come in, is focusing on, like, when they walk in and you ask them to punch grommets or something. I mean, there's been times before where we'll say, yeah, grommet these corners or something. We have, you know, 25,000 grommets to punch, and they'll do the first 2,000 of them like off center. Well, rather than blaming them, you know, like we look.
That's a true story.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But like, rather than blaming them for messing it up, like, you know, really, like, this is what you did. It's like you look back at yourself. It's like, well, what could I have done?
Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to improve.
Yeah,
yeah, and so they're going to come in and they will often find the easy mistakes that we have made, right? And so the things that somebody who's been in the business for a long time sees that, and it's like they don't make that mistake. So it's simplify your process, bring them in, and then finally, the last thing that I would say, and you know, unfortunately, it is kind of the way it is, but if you need 2 people, you think, hire 4, 5, 6 of them, and let the kind of the work rule it out. Chances are, it's been our experience around here, if we need 2 associates, we'll hire 4 or 5. 1 or 2 of them won't even show up the first day. Another 1 or 2 will leave after lunch, and then we're left with the people who like enjoy the job, want to work, want to do it.
It stinks, but that's the nature of it. And, you know,
it's a challenge for every business, though. Don't feel like.
And if they all show up, you get the work done really, really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we're buying equipment, is it better to buy 2 smaller machines or 1 faster one? So we've had quite a bit of history with this, and generally I would say that it's always better, like, to have redundancy. Like, that's kind of our focus and stuff. But we've gone both ways with the Canon Colorados. Those are economical enough to where, like, they're one of the more expensive, smaller roll-to-roll printers, but they are still economical enough for us to have multiples of them. Plus, you know, you have machine downtime, you have, you know, somewhat print consistency, and not to say that every single day you're going to get print consistency between 2 printers. You could have 2 printers sitting there running the same media, you know, both from different batches, and they both have different white points, and you're going to see a difference. But, you know, we are, and then when we had the previous flatbed printer, we were trying to, you know, get multiples of those because we felt like we could have the redundancy there. Well, then we kind of came to the realization that, you know, we want the workflow that we want matches the new one. So.
Yeah, I really think when it comes to buying, you know, if you're trying to decide if it's a realistic decision for you between 2 smaller machines and 1 bigger, 1 faster machine, you really have to lay that out in a pros and cons list, right? And so if you buy 2 machines, can 1 operator still run the 2 machines? Well, if they're flatbed printers, maybe not. Maybe they're too far away and it's too challenging for 1 person to run both machines. Well, you know, if a faster printer, faster cutter, whatever, allows 1 operator to just get more work done, then, you know, that's definitely a pro for the one machine. Of course, the redundancy is always wonderful. Being able to upgrade, like if you have software upgrades and things like that, having 2 machines will allow you to upgrade 1 and verify that it's operational. Maintenance and downtime can be shared between the 2 machines, you know. So there's a lot of advantages to having that redundant equipment, but then there's also a lot of advantages to having 1, you know, powerful workhorse. You're not trying to color match between 2 printers if, you know, we're talking about printers here or whatever, but I would say you really you got to search your soul. You got to write out your pros and cons list and make that decision if you really do. And we have many times come down to that decision, and, you know, we have gone both ways. On whether or not we should buy 1 faster one or 2 slower ones.
Yeah. Generally, we've always had some sort of redundancy, whether it's like an outsourced partner or, you know, another piece of equipment in-house that could handle the work. But it's kind of scary when you are going through a peak season and you don't have redundancy.
Well, and the other thing too is, do you need redundancy, right?
Yeah.
Is the work that you do, so for us, like we're shipping 85% within 48 hours. We have to have redundancy for as much as we can, because if something goes down, we're going to miss all of our deadlines, right?
Yeah.
But if you're working on large, long-term projects, perhaps maybe the redundancy isn't necessary. Or maybe, like James said, maybe you have a really solid outsourced partner. So the redundancy isn't necessary the few times a year that, you go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot to consider there.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
What do you watch out for when you're buying used equipment? How do you know if it's a good deal or not?
This is something. So, again, I'd probably go to your pros and cons list, but a couple of things to consider. First of all, when it comes to fairly complicated equipment, we are a lot more comfortable buying used equipment when it's our second or third device in that lineup, right? And so if we have a printer that we really like and we want to buy a second one, we're more open to buying a used one for the second one, just because we understand it, we know what to expect, we have a bench line to compare it to. But I would say maybe one of the most important things is the manufacturer going to support it? Right? So if you're buying a printer, if you're buying a big cutter, if you're buying a grommet machine, whatever, are parts still available, right? Are they willing to extend a service contract to this piece of equipment? If the manufacturer is going to back it, that's fine. And especially if it's a redundant piece of equipment or something, I think that's a great option to save some money. But if it's your first in a lineup or something like that, it could really leave a bad taste in your mouth, and you don't have a baseline or a benchmark as to how that piece of equipment should be performing. That can be a real challenge that can kind of leave you out to dry. So you have to make those types of decisions. Those are business decisions you have to make. But we generally are not a fan of we want to get into this market, let's buy something used. The respect you get from the manufacturer when you buy something new from them, the relationship that you build with the manufacturer buying something new from them, is worth it to us.
Yeah. Well, and you build that relationship on the first one, and then you buy the second one, and if that one is used, generally they still support it, right? Because you're staying with their brand. They know that eventually you're going to come around and upgrade that. Every printer out there has to be upgraded at some point, if you're growing. So,
okay. Next question.
Yep. How important is local tech support when choosing new equipment? Does having a nearby technician influence your purchasing decision? Should you buy the service contract? And how do you know if that tech support is going to be reliable?
Yeah. So this is a good question. So when we're purchasing equipment, one of the questions we always ask is who's the closest technician to us? And if they're within driving distance, that's a big plus. If they're not within driving distance, are they in a major airport so that they can get to us without taking a connected flight, right? And basically how fast can they get to us? How many technicians do you have? Do you have a whole bunch of them? Or if one guy's sick, is there no way to get somebody out here? And so, we have kind of stopped servicing our own equipment. We really have the technicians come in and do it more and more. We buy the service contracts because we found that that's the fastest way to get operational again. We can really, hound on somebody, hey, why isn't our machine running? Why isn't our machine running? It's not all our problem. And that's just because of how fast we produce things. That also saves us. If you have the service contract and you have a technician in here, it also saves the argument later on down the road. If you don't like the way that technician is performing or something, then you're not I paid you to come here and you didn't do this, this, and this, and it's not that really, it's in the service contract. So they're, however if they take a little bit longer to fix it, you're not getting billed for those hours and things generally with service contracts. But that in regards to service contracts, we are huge fans of service contracts, huge fans of technicians. I used to not buy service contracts for anything personally. I still don't buy a lot of service contracts for stuff personally, but for our business, when downtime is very, very expensive. Not only is it costing us and our clients money, but it's hurting our brand. Getting back up and running is critical. And so everybody that we can kind of bring into that loop is really important to us. So I would say, and I think how do you know if a company has good technicians? So there's really two major categories that technicians fall into, right? One category is, can we get this back up and running for the lowest cost possible? okay? And you're going to see that they're going to spend tons of time with you on the phone. They're going to try and get you to do things. They're going to ground you parts, ship them UPS ground or whatever. And then you've got technicians, like we experience with most of the equipment that we buy. We have technicians that are like, I'm going to get out there tomorrow and I'm going to overnight a bunch of parts. So when I get there, we're going to replace everything we need to replace and get this running. And not only am I going to send the part that I think is the problem, I'm going to send the second and third part that might be the problem as well. Yeah. And I think the easiest way to determine whether or not you're working, you can't ask the salesperson if their techs are like that. They're going to say they're like the latter, right? They're on it. They want to get you back up and running. They're going to do whatever it takes. Every salesperson is going to tell you that. Even the technical service managers and stuff are going to tell you that. What you need to do is find somebody who's running it, who runs this equipment. Preferably somebody like find them on the Facebook groups or something like that. But even the referrals from the manufacturers are good. And ask them, the last time you needed parts, was the default to overnight the parts to your facility, or was the default to ground your parts to the facility? I mean, that's the simplest thing you can do. Did they just say, yep, we're going to overnight the parts, and they're just right out saying that? Or did they say, yeah, we'll ground you the parts, you're going to get them in a couple of days, right? And that question is, and so for Durst, they overnight everything. They don't even ask us because they know we need to be back up and running right away. If it's got us down, everything's being overnighted. We're getting it the next morning.
It's really comforting when the tech's not even here and you already have parts showing up at your door.
Yeah, and the tech's like on his way and like they're doing everything they can. And you can feel that when you start working with techs, which ones have the guidance from the top to get these guys back up and running, get them profitable again, and which ones have the guidance from the top to, well, try things one at a time because it's lower cost, right? And you want to find those companies that really want to keep you up and running because they understand, especially in our business, our side of this where everything's so fast.
Yeah. So when you're buying a new printer, is pricing negotiable? Yes. Everything's negotiable. We've seen it before. So there's always it's kind of give and take. And so now like that we're kind of getting into, so when we buy the the bigger equipment that has like consumables that are going through it, like ink and stuff like that, pricing always kind of depends on just how you negotiate it, right? It like previously when we bought our first big printer, we wanted the machine as cheap as possible because we wanted to keep our monthly payment as low as we possibly could. And ink is something that you buy when you're using it, when you're running it. But then, as you grow and you're going to go through the material, well, ink is probably more of an expense to us. I mean, we probably spend our equipment costs in ink every couple of years or so.
Yeah, or we spend almost more on ink than we do on the equipment.
Yeah,
and we do.
And so, saving on each liter of ink is, really, really valuable for us. And so we'll pay more for the equipment and, try to drive our. And every manufacturer is different. We've seen manufacturers that have like a really rigid structure for that, where they'll like put a contract in place and they'll say if you don't have it, you're going to get, or if you don't use it, you're going to get a pallet on your doorstep.
So you're talking about like offsetting the cost of the equipment by raising the cost of ink.
Yeah.
And so we're paying less for the equipment, less loan to the bank every month, but when we're buying a bunch of ink, we're paying more.
Yeah.
Our higher share of the equipment.
Yeah.
And that's how we started out, and now we're moving more towards we're willing to pay more for the equipment because we need to drive that ink cost down as much as possible. Yeah. But that's with the big printers. I don't know that I've seen that as much with the smaller printers, but I think it's still an option. It's always just how you want to balance the scales. If you're working with distributors, so to buy, for example, Graphtex and GFP laminators or things like that you saw in our deal, you can kind of, like when you go buy a car, you can kind of put them against each other and say, well, this guy is, willing to do it for a little less. And you weigh all that out too. But I would say you probably can negotiate on most equipment purchases. I mean, the distributors, the manufacturers, they all want to sell you equipment. They all want to start that relationship. Yeah. And so, haggle with them if you feel like you need to.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to shop. Understand what everybody's getting. Because some companies might, if you're working with a distributor, they might have a whole nother network of techs or something that are available to you. And so maybe it's worthwhile looking at that.
Absolutely.
Versus working directly with the manufacturer, you're working with somebody who's going to be in it and stuff. And so
next question.
How do we handle rush jobs?
Okay.
We're fresh off this. So the way you want to answer, you want me to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the way that we did it, what's worked for us in the past, since we don't really we're very systematic when it comes down to ordering. Everything comes through firesprint.com. And so the easiest way for us to handle it is to prioritize the shipping method. And so, and it allows the client to kind of put their money where their mouth is. And so you've always got,
So what's that mean, prioritize the shipping method?
So FedEx, if they're paying for overnight versus using our free shipping option or using a ground shipping option or even 2-day, we always prioritize the fastest shipping method because they paid for that to happen, right? They paid $80 to ship it versus $15 to ship it,
or nothing, or free shipping. Yeah.
And so that's the easiest way for us to see it and we break that out in our system in FileMaker. We have the system that Gene built. We actually have a little emblem that shows the shipping method that's in there. And so when the guys are going through and they're trying to figure out what's the highest priority for the day,
if they feel like they can't get it all done,
if they feel
it's
like
always
they can't get it all
okay.
done.
Well, let's do the overnight jobs first.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we do too is the shipping cutoffs don't really count towards the overnight jobs. Like we have our scheduling, Michael, our scheduling manager, who's a different Michael than the one you saw in the video. He'll call us and he'll say, "Hey, I've got FedEx packages. Why don't you guys come back and take them to FedEx?"
Yeah.
If they're set overnight, or UPS, if they're set to overnight.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas ground shipment, if it just, if the driver left and we're printing off our last ground label, well, that will ship tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that we do. We try really hard to prioritize. That's what works for us, but rush fees might work for some of you guys. It depends on your client base. And then, just having good salespeople like kind of balance everything out, saying, well, how important is this to you? And trying to understand that. Some of you guys work with a handful of clients and they're like all your bread and butter. Well, those are the ones that you're rushing stuff for. Just lots and lots to talk about there that we could go on for. Is this the next question?
Yep. Sorry, we got 9 minutes left, so I want to get through some more. What are the best practices for clearly communicating job specifications between sales and production teams?
Yeah. So, you want me to answer? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's in writing, right? So that's the simplest way to put it. You put stuff in writing. So between sales and production team or design and production team, I see this question come up all the time. My designers talk to the client and the installers go out and they do it wrong, right? Or they do something different, or they make a mom into a wow, right? Rather than you get it. Anyway.
Well, the first thing that we did was we stopped taking orders over the phone. Right, we had clients that would call us and say, "Hey, I need this done," and so it's like, well, that
really helps communicate. It's all in writing.
Yeah, it's all in writing. And then from there, when we first started with our job tickets, it was we had a huge notes section that was like do this, and this. Well, then you start seeing that every job has a material type, and so you make that its own field. Then every job has an enhanced date, so you make that its own field. And then we just kind of keep trickling down through our notes section as we do, first day we do 10 jobs, next day we do 12 jobs. You start figuring what's the most efficient for everything, and then try to standardize as much as you possibly can and just get to that point. And it's tough for some shops because if you're doing a wrap, then a wall wrap, then channel letter sign or something, it's not as streamlined. But all your channel letter jobs might you might try to streamline those. So.
Yeah. Get rid of the notes section. that's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
Take things that are constantly in the notes section, move them out into fields of their own. And that is systematically doing that is what has helped us process like 1,000 jobs a day now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I think about the old way, we used to get 30, 40 jobs a day would be, a huge day for us, and that would make everybody go crazy. Now it's,
it's literally 1,000.
Yeah.
So what's next?
How can print shops future-proof their technology and equipment?
Okay, so you're not going to like this answer, but I don't know that you're future-proofing technology and equipment. I think you're buying the best technology and equipment that is available to you today. You're making those decisions. You're buying good stuff. Okay, that's always going to last longer. Mm-hmm. But then beyond that, you really should be thinking, and we do it here, when we buy a printer, for example, we're thinking 3 to 5 years, this thing's going to be a paperweight, right? And that's not entirely true. Our big printers are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars after 3 to 5 years, but they started $1 million and they dropped to 200,000 in 5 years. Like, I'm not even going to count that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to fully pay for the equipment within 3 years, so that when the future rolls out, when the faster printer rolls out, when the better cutter rolls out, whatever it is, we're ready to buy the next one. And so I think when people are talking about how do I future-proof, what they're really doing is they're saying, how do I avoid, like, how do I get like 10 years out of this stuff? And you might, a lot of small shops, you absolutely will. And like our grommet press, our Zuns, you know, a bunch of the stuff that we invested in shipping, yeah, that could potentially last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. But for the most part, we're looking at, you know, saving up and make sure that the depreciation cost of that equipment in 3 to 5 years or whatever you think that number is factored into your pricing. And that's really how you do that, I think.
I said paperweight is true. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's and I mean, it's $100,000 or $200,000 paperweight in some cases.
Fortunately, we have had that happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you learn, though. You get through that.
It is the way of this business for sure.
James Duncan said, "Now you're through your busy time. I ordered yesterday and we'll be receiving it today. Granted, it was only the magnet and a bit. That's what we want. That's what
that's
we want that to be our standard, and that's why we're investing so heavily right now.
Yeah.
So that our next peak, it's always painful. Obviously, in your peaks, you do have to hit max capacity. Otherwise, you're not running at maximum efficiency or whatever. You have too much equipment for the sales that you have. But our goal is to be able to handle our peaks with our capacity. We truly believe that we're limited by our capacity more than anything.
Yeah, right now I think that's our biggest
right
factor.
Now.
So we've only got 5 minutes left. So you want to pick a couple of the, and then we'll get to more questions as we go through FireHour.
So number 11, when is it better to expand your shop versus optimize existing resources? Is there a clear point where getting a larger space is more beneficial than streamlining current operations?
Yeah. So how do you decide between optimization and expanding the shop, like buying or building a bigger shop, right?
Yeah, we should always be optimizing.
Always be optimizing. So they're not independent of each other. They should never change. And in fact, your best time to optimize is when you feel constrained, right? I don't have room for more equipment, more people, whatever it is. Yeah. So your only choice is to optimize. And that's, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention or something like that. And so that's really when you and your team are going to do the best, when you are cramped. You're going to find you buy a bigger shop or move into a bigger building, you move out, and then suddenly everybody's less efficient than they were before. You think the extra space is going to make everybody more efficient. We have experienced more space making us less efficient over and over again for a period of time, and then we re-optimize. That optimization is kind of steady. I'll get this way to you guys, and the space is comes in these chunks, but if you're asking yourself how, is this the right time to expand the space? And I think what you're going to find in your organization, you have bottlenecks, right? And so
how do you identify a bottleneck?
You look at them. you use your eyes. There's piles, right? So a bottleneck is going to show up where there's a pile of work before a piece of equipment or before a process, before somebody. And so if you have piles of work in your shop, that's where your bottlenecks are, right after that pile of work, right? The next step in that is the bottleneck. If something never has a pile of work in front of it, it's probably not a bottleneck. And so you go look at your bottlenecks and you ask yourself, is this bottleneck producing as much as it possibly can? So a printer, for example, when we're printing boards, we're running at 30, 40 boards an hour, whatever it is. I'm not going to get 80 out of that machine, right? I'd either have to replace it or, when you hit those constraints, that's when you should start asking yourself, okay, I need another one of these pieces of equipment because this one, we're maximizing it. We're running as fast as we possibly can. Maybe we're running 24 hours a day. It's time to expand. We need another one. And I don't have room for that second one. I think that's kind of what you hit. It's not inventory. Careful with inventory, right? Yeah. I mean, we all want to buy a bunch of inventory to get the price real low. Well, you've got carrying costs for that inventory. Yeah. It really should be when you have just absolutely maxed out the fastest equipment in that floor space. Yeah. In my opinion,
and
I think
I have never truly seen, out of all the print shops and stuff that we've been to, clients that we visited, other people, competitors and stuff that we've seen, I have never truly seen another shop that says that they have plenty of space to do everything that they want to do. You're either full or you're dying. One of the two, it seems like. But we do have one question. From Valentine, I think I'm saying that right. Would you consider classes or tutorials on how to expand?
Absolutely. I would love to know what you mean by that. I think if you can elaborate on that or send marketing at FireSprint an email with some ideas, if there's specific things that we can answer. I don't know. Maybe you don't even mean us. Maybe you're talking about, are there classes that you know of? And I don't want to listen to you guys. I don't know. But however we can help, I'd love to. I'd just like you to elaborate on that question a little bit more. But we're constantly working on content to just help you guys grow. That's
Yeah.
When you grow, we grow. It's a win-win, right?
Yep. No, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and some of our best clients are they're running equipment similar to ours and stuff, and they're using us for overexpanded, over capacity things and stuff like that.
So next week, right? That's all we've got 30 questions here. We got through like 9 of them. So long-winded we are.
Yeah.
Next week, we are not next week, 2 weeks. We've got our next Fire Hour, November 14th,
Yep,
right?
November
I believe.
14th. Yep.
Yep. We are going to be out of town, visiting a shop. And we want to talk to you guys about travel, business travel and things like that. So I don't know if we'll be sitting in a rental car or in a hotel room or how we're going to set it up, but we're really going to try and do it live while we are traveling. And we want to talk to you guys about why you should. We feel like it's very important, right? I mean,
yeah, it's exciting. I mean, just to keep your staff engaged and stuff. It's awesome.
There's like 6 of us going.
Yeah.
Trade shows, those kinds of things. We want to talk about the stuff that we do to travel to really engage our team and get our minds going and all the inspiration we get from traveling for work. And so just even a day or going to a neighboring city or visiting another shop, all those things, you come back so inspired to do new things. So we're going to be talking a lot about that in the next Fire Hour. So thank you for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is so cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. And thank you guys for joining us. Looks like we had a decently steady group with us the whole time. So thanks for being a part of it. We love it.